I'm Nishant Pillai. Most of my friends call me Nish. I love the color blue. If anything that is Nogaro Blue, I'm known for a passion about Nogaro Blue. I'm a car nerd, but first and foremost, I'm a husband to my amazing wife who allows me to follow this passion, father to two car nerds like me, and most importantly, I'm just a car nerd. So.
Yeah. Uh, if you know.
To both the kids, genuinely, like I find my kids are both kind of into cars. One of them's really into F1. Um, they're not like they're not obsessed with cars, but they're into them. Is that where do you
Yeah,
think
I
your kids stand?
describe my kids the same, which
Yeah.
is our older one, who's 12, Tyler, who just turned 13 yesterday, is slowly realizing, and I see him. I had a very proud car dad moment about a month ago where we were all with these young kids, photographers, videographers, content creators, and they were fanboying over all our blue cars. And you could see the light bulb go in Tyler's head. It says, "Oh, I guess we have cool cars." So slowly but surely, they are getting into cars. First world problems, right? I ask them, so which is your favorite car? And till recently, many years ago, it was the RS4 build. Then it became the RS6. Then it had stayed the RS6, the Tribute, for a long while. And then it became the 993 GT Tribute. Then their favorite car was the 997.23 RS. And then finally the 9923 RS, the Nogaro Blue one is their favorite now. So for them it's all about the amenities. So one
Uh,
is the younger one loves sort of raw noises, spirited driving. The older one is more about like my wife Tara. He likes the comfort, the options. So for him, the RS6 is he loves that. So yeah.
it's funny how they're like both of my daughters will play coy because whatever they're kids, they're here to
Right.
plus my whatever. But I remember the one day like I went and picked up my kid at a dance in the 964, and like she never really like plays it cool whenever she was in that car. But the night I picked her up at the dance this she was still in the elementary school at the time, and like I pick her up and she like rolls down the window and she's like bye, like she was like
Yeah.
like making sure everybody saw her riding away. Like, all
Yeah,
right,
yeah,
you played yourself. I know now that you're acting
yeah,
like whatever.
yeah. Yeah, so I had one of those moments recently. So they had the Great American Teach-In, right? So my wife was, we generally tag team and come and talk about what she does. She's a diplomat, and now she runs, she's the global director for ISC2 for cybersecurity. And then typically I come in, because I do a lot of food and beverage ERP implementations, but the kids wanted to know more about cars, right? So she
Yeah.
talked about, you know, government and being a diplomat all these years, and then they wanted to see my Instagram, right? So it's funny how and then I weaved in my work of working with Welch's and Pompeian and Chick-fil-A and all the other brands, but they were more interested in, so what did you drive today? Uh Ty, what do you like? So
Kid stuff.
it's yeah, so it makes my kid feel cool and makes me feel gratifying that it's like I can make. So we just acquired another bucket list car of ours about a month ago, and my plan is to get it all squared away and then give it to Tyler, our now 13-year-old. In a couple of years, 15-year-old, as his first car.
What'd you get?
Got a E46 M3 comp,
Nice.
manual, stick shift,
All right.
Interlagos blue, owned by a 72-year-old gentleman. First owner was the engineer from Michelin for the M program. And I wanted it properly. Like for us, what's important is, of course, it has to be blue, has to be a car that, checks all the boxes. Three is, if we ever need to exit out of it, it's an easy sell. And lastly, it's got to have a sense of occasion. right? So E46 M3, it's not the fastest car,
No,
but
but they're
man, it's
cool.
a little pocket rocket. So the goal is that's my next project. So slowly but surely get it done, and then so we've landed up with four different cars with four different brands right now in the garage.
Four
Yeah,
different. So you got the GT3 RS, the RS6, you said the Land Rover?
the Defender, which is also blue, but Tara
Yeah.
designed that with
And now
their
the BMW.
options, and now the BMW. So yeah.
Damn, man. Does it cap out? Like, is it like four cars in that garage and then you're done? Or do you have like, are you allowed to do off-site or,
So I'm still working on that, right?
yeah,
So I almost bought a warehouse, that thing of having a man cave and all that stuff. So I wanted to do that, but then you know when we consolidated some of the cars recently, we anticipated a lot of potential, I would say, wonkiness in the economy. So
right.
we quickly pivoted to exiting out of the 993 GT, which some people know, One Amelia. That was our car that we wanted to build, and with the objective of displaying it at a concours. And then we quickly got rid of the 997.23 RS, which broke my heart, but
Did
that
it?
was it was the right time to do that. So
Yeah.
and so yes, to answer your question, we've consolidated to four. I think four is the right number. Beyond that, it just becomes you spend so much time like this has got to be fixed and this one has to be
Yeah.
serviced and it becomes a all consuming. Four is the right number. Each of them has a purpose. The defenders, the kids. We're going to the beach later this afternoon after this podcast because we live in Florida. The 3RS is my track weapon for every weekend, and it's just an amazing ride. We've put a full Dundon setup in that. The RS6 is a great family hauler, uh, and the E46 just checks that box of an old analog manual stick shift that
Right.
once all done, I'll be able to alternate between that and the 3RS on the track and just have fun. And then
Yeah.
hand it off to Tyler as his first car, which I think, which at least my personal opinion is, which is a cool first car. But
Hell yeah, it is.
yeah,
So 16, you're gonna let him drive it at 16?
absolutely.
Yeah.
We already practice driving in the parking lots, both him and his brother, 10-year-old. So since they were little, they've been driving, and
Can they drive
uh,
manual?
they can't drive manual,
Yeah.
but they can drive automatic.
That's I got my oldest started driving and we picked her up in A5. I found an exclusive one at CarMax. But then recently my youngest one is like 17, hasn't gotten her license yet. She thought she would right away
Mm-hmm.
and then, friends and whatever. So she's close, but I just picked up a friend was selling or a friend of a friend was selling a Mark One TT and manual though, and kind of always wanted one and wanted to play one with one, and this one's in great shape. But more importantly, my plan with this car is like I don't want I'm fine with them driving like the 964, but I don't want them learning on it. Like
Right.
so like the TT is low stakes. If it breaks,
It does.
fix it.
Right.
Who cares?
Exactly. Exactly. And that's the same thing, right? So, a little bit of E46. So when I went to school in LA, USC, you know, broke immigrant student, I came to this country and I used to walk from USC South Center LA to the BMW dealership. They were just next to each other, the Audi and the BMW dealership. And I used to always walk in and look at an E46, right? When they came out. That was just the M3, and then they came out with a comp. And in my mental model, I used to try to figure out how can I own this car, and I could never. So I got my job, and then they were just too expensive, right?
Yeah.
And but I always wanted one, just like the Audis, right? I always wanted a Porsche, always wanted an Audi. So just going through the list of those cars, and so for me, it was a full circle moment when I picked up the E46. Was like, they say always never meet your heroes. I always actually like to meet my heroes, at least the bucket
Yeah.
list. And is it the fastest car? No. Is it the most fulfilling car? Sometimes. Do you have to work really hard? Absolutely. Just like the RS too, you know?
Right.
Um,
Well, I think a lot of modern cars are missing that, right? Like I think about that with like I drove my buddy's 992 GT3 and it was amazing. And if I hit the lottery, we'll definitely buy one, right? No question. But
Sure.
you're not working for any like maybe on a track with really, really long straights or like high capacity, I can go and work that thing and feel like I'm actually trying. But like
Right.
it's not like getting in like the 964 is infinitely slower and doesn't will not corner nearly as fast and but there's drama to it and it like makes you feel like you achieved something,
Right. Right.
there's
Right.
like a
No, I
soul to
agree
that.
with you. Yeah, no, I agree. And I think the GT3, um, my personal opinion, my humble opinion, it's almost like the analogy I would use it with the newer Audis, right? They're great, but that's it. There's no drama. There's no sense of occasion. You have to do a lot. Comparatively to an Audi, Porsche, you can do a little bit,
Yeah.
and that's what we've done to our 3RS. So it's a great platform. To your point, um, it's an amazing car. We were just lucky and met the right people at the right time to build a relationship that allowed us to take a great platform, which is a 9923 RS, and the relationship with Porsche Clearwater and PCNA and PAG to get us a slot for a painter sample. So it already makes it special, And for us, the color was we explored a lot of that, and at the end of the day, got to build a one of one, which we're very lucky. But then there's always like, what do you make it to bring some soul into it? So we put in an exhaust and we've done some Manti upgrades, right? Contrary to popular belief, you don't have to. It's not 0 or 100. It's not a 0 or 1 for a Manti. You can get, some Manti parts and Manti settings on a 3RS.
And Manti, for people who don't know, correct me if I'm wrong. What I know of them is Olaf Monte has owned a racing team at the Nürburgring for decades. On the Audi side, he's got a collection there. I know he has I think it's the 200 or the 200 car that ran at maybe Talladega with Bobby Unser,
I
maybe
think so. Yeah. Hmm.
one of those cars. But they've competed in GT3 with
Right.
factory drivers like Timo Bernhard for years. Porsche buys them a couple years ago. I think Porsche bought Manti and or looks like Manthe for the people who are just reading it and not speaking with German accents, and has been from that point. I'm sure you know much more than I do
I've
about.
lost audio.
Okay,
Okay, can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Okay. For some reason, my audio just like switches off, like the worst time, but it is what it is. So, but you were saying about Manti. So
Yeah,
yeah. So,
certain point they get purchased by Porsche, right? And then
right.
you probably know a lot more. Well, maybe you know more a lot of what I was covering before, but I'm sure you know a lot more since Porsche purchased them.
Yeah, no, no. So for me, when I looked at Manti, right, I distinctly remember the Kevin Estres overtake at the Nürburgring straightaway when he went into the grass to overtake the Mercedes at the 24-hour Nürburgring race. And I was like, what is this company? Like, what did they do? And then you go down a rabbit hole and you try to, like you said, you try to find what the provenance is. And I was lucky enough that when we participated in Le Mans, a friend of mine sponsors a car. He invited us to view, to experience the race, right? And if you haven't, I would strongly recommend to go. It is an occasion, right? The Le Mans race. And then we went up to the ring and we were invited to the Manti facility at the ring. So I had the good fortune of driving a cup car there. Just can you imagine? I first time
On the
in
North
yeah,
Nordschleife,
Nordschleife. So I
deep end of the
never
pool,
driven.
man.
Yeah, exactly right. So never driven the Nordschleife. Get there late afternoon, get one, like we do all the training, hey, what the flags, here's the track route, here's the temperature, here's what you should expect, and you're a passenger with a driver, right? And most of those turns are blind, or you're just trying to figure out.
But so you were riding shotgun with somebody who knew the track though.
So I rode one lap shotgun,
Okay.
and then 4 laps was just me.
Damn. And was it a public day?
It was a public day.
All right, so that's the part I've never, other than like video games, I've never driven the Nordschleife, which is the old long track,
Right,
not
right,
the Grand Prix track at
right.
Nürburgring. But what is it like 7 miles? I forget how many miles it is.
I think
I
it's longer than that. I don't know, sure, but yeah,
think
it is.
seven
It is
is
long.
Le Mans, but there's thereabouts. But
Yeah.
anyway, public days, you get people who are, if you watch like some of these channels for like guys who live there and they're there all the time. You get people who know the track. You also get a lot of people who don't know, shit about shit, right? We're also on that track. And I guess that's where I'm going. Like when you say deep end of the pool, it's not just a highly technical track, but now you've got to deal with traffic of like people at all levels of skill set.
Oh, absolutely. We had, if memory serves me right, we had novices who were just there with vans and golfs and polos and like little cars, and then you had the serious guys, and then you had idiots like me who had never driven it in a cup car, and I'm getting used to the helmet, and the seat was not made for me, and you're wearing the device, like
Yeah.
the Hans device, and you can't turn, and you basically have very little view. And then you have the guys who've driven the track so many times, especially the taxis, and those guys aren't stopping. So you're trying to process so many things. Do you point by? Well, there's no point by. It's a public day. People are just either
They're just
and then
going,
you're like, do I hold the racing line or do I not hold the racing line? And then you have the taxi guys who don't care, like they've driven this like multiple times a day.
right.
For me, there was one moment where I was on a straightaway. It's like a dip, and then it's if you haven't been to Nordschleife, the track is not flat, right? It's in the mountains, so there's like elevations, there's undulations, there's banking, there's crazy hairpins, and I was on one of those undulations, and I see a red car, right? All I see is a red car, and then the next thing I know, the guy slipstream me, and he's gone. And then split second, you're like, damn, that GT3 RS is kick ass. And then it hits you like, oh, I'm gonna get one next year.
So he was in the GT3 RS
Yeah,
and you're in a cup?
oh, I it
Well, no, I
no
mean,
talent, bro, zero talent, right?
totally. At the other side, was this your first time in a cup?
First time in my cup, yeah,
Yeah, and this so like a Carrera Cup car, right? So like
a
a little
Carrera Cup
bit
car,
kind
an
of a
older
GT,
one.
kind of
It
a
was a 991 older
okay,
cup car. Yeah, yeah,
but like kind of a what would a cup car be equivalent? It's kind of like it's a purpose-built body and white race car. It's got aero, it's got
right.
slicks. So I've only ever
It
driven
was
a
running.
cup.
It was running street tires,
Okay,
but it was
but
in
it's got aero,
July, so it's got aero, but it doesn't have active aero like a 3RS. But yeah, it's got a big
right?
wing and everything. But yeah,
So I've driven a cup once, and it was probably a 991 as well. It was in Vegas. I was on slicks, but it was what really was crazy to me is the morning I'd spent in road cars, like supercars, right, including a 911, and then I get in the cup, and it's like the guy who was riding shotgun with me was like, you got to get the arrow working, right? So it's counterintuitive, but keep your
you
speed
have to.
up, like through the corners, and it made such a difference, though, right? So you're up
Yeah,
against a 992 GT3 RS and he left you?
absolutely. Yeah. So to your point, actually, it's funny. I was having a conversation with so we track every weekend, right? And we were having this conversation about how much aero helps, but is also a disadvantage if you're not carrying enough speed. And this was a conversation last week about um, Formula One cars versus GT3 RSs, where aero is helping you, and 4 RSs and Mantis, right? And a friend of mine, he has a Manti 3RS, and my Peasant 3RS, and we were talking about the level of downforce that the Manti kit generates. And He said it was scary to scary fast, a Manti. So if you're not carrying enough speed and you don't have enough downforce, he's like the car, you know, twitches, right? Understeer to oversteer.
Right.
And but he says when the aero you've got it locked in, that's the best car to drive. And
Right.
so he's like, same thing with Formula One. So you're right, which is, you have to carry the speeds. You have to know what you're doing, you know,
Yeah.
before you drive these cars. Because, I've seen people drive these cars and they're not hitting the apexes. They're not coming in the right lines. They're not exiting and they're just destabilizing the car. You have to load these cars properly in order to actually get the best out of them. And then it's just your talent, right? You got to read the lines and do all that stuff. So just this morning, I was having a conversation with my dealership, and we're actually going to be doing some Manti upgrades on my 3RS to make it better, starting with the alignment. But coming back to Manti, great company. The sales team is just unbelievably gracious. They welcomed us to their facility, and it was a great time. And I got to see, the 3RS, the pilot car or the demo car, with which now has the big wing and the shark fin. It's absolutely bonkers. Now, would I do that to my 3RS? No, because I still need a window to look behind.
Right.
But it's something that a lot of people enjoy. But uh, I've seen people have that for the wrong reasons. Because I've never I've never seen some of these cars on the track. They just have it as way of a
Right.
flex. You know what I mean? So and then most 3RSs are that way. I would say I'm one of the fools who actually drives his 3RS.
Nah, dude, that's
Uh,
a good thing.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
I'm tired
and
of.
I love it.
I have a friend who's a dealer, and I won't call him out, but like, and I think you and I have had this conversation, but I'll do it anyway because we're recording. I'm always perplexed when I see these cars with like no miles on them pop up,
Right,
traded in as a CPO or whatever, and
right,
especially when it's like, when it's a Carrera cab, who cares? But when it's a GT3 or a GT3 RS or some sort of GT car, you're like, how did this car not see use? And I guess like the term I was given is whale, right? Like there's a certain customer who buys the car and it's more of landing it than it is actually using it and enjoying it.
absolutely,
And their enjoyment,
absolutely.
I guess, is simply just having it in the garage, which whatever. If you enjoy it, okay, cool. But that's not what
Yeah,
I would enjoy out of it.
yeah, yeah. No, and I was having this conversation. I think you and I have spoken about this before, which is life's too short to have transactional relationships, to drive boring cars. Live your life. You have a
Yeah,
limited number of days on this earth. If you can, and if you're in the right place at the right time and you're able to afford these cars and afford them without any of the stresses, enjoy them. And that's what we try to do, which is, we took delivery of the car. We drove it 1,400 miles in Europe, 4 countries, a month-long vacation, my wife and I. And people are like, "What's wrong with you? You should have just taken the delivery and European delivery and then given back and then rented a car." Well, why? You
yeah.
know, um, we
Why
used the
wouldn't you use it
car.
in the
Exactly.
place it's designed to be used? Like it's
Exactly, and we loved it, right? And broke it in Europe, and those are memories. You know what, George? It's
yeah,
these memories will never. You can never rebuild these memories, right? So think of it this way, right? When our kids are older and we have grandkids, I say, your grandmom and I, took delivery. We built this car. We celebrated it in Europe, and here we are. I honestly think, a lot of people poo-poo on the 9923 RS, thinking, there's 5,000 of them, and it's too much car. It's not practical. Honestly, you can go grocery shopping in that car. I just did 2 days ago. When
yeah,
Thanksgiving shopping, my wife and I, we put stuff at the back. Yeah, is it convenient? Not as convenient as our Defender or our
right.
RS6, but you can still use it. Can you have fun? Whole lot of fun. I can tell you, there's no car that drives like that car, right? Um, you know, Same with the RS6. You look at the market right now, there is no wagon out there that can, you know, carry so many people
Yeah,
and do it well, make it look good, and sound just amazing. name another wagon. Yeah, people were like, oh, it's the Mercedes Benz, you know. So
Or the
yeah,
yeah, the M5 Touring. There's the natural comparison. Yeah, I'm curious. I mean, let's pivot to RS6. I've we've both had them, both had tributes, so we can kind of dig into that. But like the new one, I'm genuinely curious about because like everybody's gone to hybrid. What's the BM? Is the BMW still an eight? I know the Mercedes is
yeah,
6 cylinder now.
yeah.
Um,
The BMW still in a
but the
eight.
BMW is like 600 pounds heavier than the RS6, and the RS6 is
Mhm.
not a skinny car. Like it's not light.
Yep, it is
So
not six
like
thousand pounds, fully full gross weight.
yeah, so this hybrid thing, like on one hand, I've got a buddy who's got the new Mercedes and he loves it. Got a manufacturer color. It's a beautiful car. He can drive it around town in electric, cool, but it's just not the same thing, and it's also heavy. Uh, Um, I
That's
don't know.
true.
I kind of wonder. There's part of me that almost wishes Audi would be like, all right, on the RS, we're just gonna do. We're not gonna bother with a weight, right?
Right,
Or no,
right.
we're not gonna bother with the hybrid. I think they are gonna do the hybrid personally, but
Yep, yep. Well, first thing I do want to acknowledge, we were Tribute Brothers. We were.
yeah.
So see, I'm not a sellout. I'm just kidding. But no,
Well,
we
if the
we
market's going where the market, we know that. I mean, I don't know if you want to dig into the one that just went across bring a trailer,
right.
that one went a little light. In fact, a
Yeah.
couple of my friends sent me texts of that. Were like, "Looks like you got out at the right time." But
Yeah, so let's dig into the tribute, right, for folks. So maybe we
yeah,
can do that on another chat, but but Audi decided that they were going to pay tribute to the RS2, right, the original RS. We can always chat more about that because both of us love geeking out on these cars and the history of. And I see you have Michel Mouton back there with the R Quattro and the R8 GT back there. So and I see there's a picture of your tribute right there with the wheels.
the model car too.
Um, what's that?
I think the model.
Yeah, there's you have the model. Yep.
Yeah.
So and then everybody says, well, why the tribute? Well, they wanted to celebrate 25 years of the RS2, albeit because of COVID, it was a little offset. Originally, should have been in, you know, 2019 or 2019, but they came
Yeah, but
out as
the
2020,
cars didn't get here till 21 model year, so late 20.
21 model 20, right? So you and I both had, you know, we had, so we're part of a sort of a select club of 25 people who had the good fortune of owning these cars, right? You for a shorter time than us are still sitting in the garage, albeit I should take it out one of these days. Um, Beautiful cars, right? Uh, they just landed, right? All of us were tracking, I think, early on when the RS6 was announced. You and I were,
So,
yeah,
so early, well, we can go a little history on this. I don't know if you want to go
sure,
deeper in a different episode, but that
yeah.
car. So they had the what was it, the 25 year. What was the special edition that was in Germany?
In Europe, they had a 25th edition.
Yeah,
They had
and
the
it had like
Nogaro
the
edition.
25
Hmm.
logos and stuff. This is effectively our equivalent. They spec'd it a little differently for the US, and the demo car or the first one or whatever shows up at port in Rhode Island, and Jamie Orr just happened to be up there and caught it and took a couple photos of it. I guess they were moving around. It was sitting outside and kind of it's just a port handlers or whatever. It wasn't like Audi staff, but the car was sitting there, and he was like, "Holy crap, Nogaro Blue RS6." Took a lot of photos, sent them to me. We ran the photos, and immediately I got a call from Audi to like take the photos down, like, not
Right,
announce.
right.
Like, dude, but you can't. They were mad at the port workers, or certain individual was mad at the port workers. Like, what are you gonna do? Like, it's not.
Yeah, yeah,
Anyway, but so 25, they're none of
yeah.
them were pre-sold. They went to 25 dealers that were selected somehow. I don't recall how. I don't know if you do.
Yeah, so it was interesting, right? So little backstory there, right? So when the RS6, the C8 was announced, it wasn't announced publicly, right? A few of us knew of those cars, right? That they were coming. We didn't know a lot about them. There was a lot of like leaks, or renders and blah blah blah. And it's funny, I distinctly remember a couple of stories showing a blue car, right? If you remember, I think I've sent you those pictures early on, and we're like, and I think I texted you. I said, "Is that Nogaro Blue?" And you're like, "Looks like Nogaro Blue, unless it's a saturated picture." Um, and in parallel, I was trying to figure out which Audi exclusive color we were going to order our Nogaro Blue, because there was five of us who originally, which then that snowballed into, I don't know, like 20 of us who ordered RS6s. And we called ourselves the Skittles Gang. And then I kept on, shifting between this blue to that blue to this blue. There was choices like Sprint Blue from the RS4, but I always came back to Nogaro Blue. And then I was told, sorry, you can't order Nogaro Blue. Like, oh, what do you mean? Little did we know these 25 had been built, and then I remember you posting those pictures, and you're like, now it makes sense, right?
Yeah.
And then everybody and their mother and father-in-law started making phone calls to the dealers. Nobody knew what this car was. They just kept on saying, there's a blue
I want
RS6,
that
right?
one. Yeah.
We want that one. And I remember the first one, interestingly, was publicly sold in California, remember? For $125,000 over sticker.
Wow.
Yeah, that was the first one.
Was
Uh,
that so? Because I know a couple of the early ones went to YouTubers,
Yeah, so a couple of landed in Rhode Island, couple of went in California. They all landed kind of at the same time.
right?
Um, the first public one, like it was all over the internet, was Randy from Savage
That's
Garage.
right.
Uh,
You got the
the
first one.
yeah, the little backstory behind that was supposed to be my car,
I don't know.
that allocation.
Which did that go through a dealer? Which dealer did that go through?
That the dealer that car was rerouted to Maryland
Okay.
to
Whatever his local would have been.
yeah, there's, I forget, it was some creek, and so I was pretty upset about that, and I had a few choice words with a few people about that, because I was told that was the car I was going to get. But it is what it is. Looking back, I'm glad it wasn't. Uh, People can Google why, but we are where we are. So yeah, those cars landed. A whole bunch of cars appeared northeast. They sold quickly. New York, New Jersey got a couple of cars. Connecticut, they sold them. Had some ADMs. California got a car. In my car, we got ours from Atlanta, from Jim Ellis. So I think there's 25 of us. We still, at least almost all the original owners are still on a chat,
Yeah.
including ex-owners like you.
I'm still on it. I rarely use WhatsApp, so I'm not on there so much. But I got the Westlake car, and I think was it you or Tino? Somebody sent me images of that car on the showroom floor with a $75,000
I
ADM.
did. I did. With the sticker. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah, and I don't know what it transacted at, but it shows up. What did those cars transact in like October-ish? I think of
Yeah.
2020.
So the first cars sold in August. Ours transacted in September 30th, and then yeah. So it was like
I think
slew.
mine
It start. Yeah. Mhm.
I think mine went to the first owner in October, and it shows up at Range Rover or whatever Land Rover Jaguar of Westlake in like late July the following summer,
Mm.
and it had looking at the Carfax, it had had some warranty work on like the center console or something,
Right.
and it had also had I think one or two blowouts. And when I got the car, it had some divots from a baby seat in the back seat that kind
Mm.
of eventually went away.
Mm.
But I'm guessing whomever bought it, whatever markup they paid, they had two blowouts and they like sidewall blowouts. You know, if you're not watching your tire pressures, that's what happens on those cars. They're heavy and they've got short sidewalls.
Right.
So I had my share before I started getting religious with my air pressures, and then they trade it on a Range Rover, and the Range Rover
Right.
dealer had it at like regular Manheim RS6 money, and so I got it for what was I don't know, I think
Wholesale.
$500 or $1,000 under what the original sticker would have been
Right.
versus like 75,000 ADM,
Yeah.
or whatever that person paid. I don't know, but I don't know how you do
Yeah.
that in a year and lose 75 G's. So hopefully they didn't pay that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think they did. I
Really?
think they did because I remember seeing that car being posted for a maybe a day or two in a couple of Facebook groups. Your car actually had the previous owner had put a roof box, mismatched roof box. It was literally on his driveway, and was asking, a lot of money. And I think he quickly realized, he or she, that they were not going to get that, and then traded that for a Range Rover. And then I remember seeing that car pop up,
Yeah.
and I think I called you the same day. You were like, "Oh, I'm trying to negotiate," and then it was a great story though.
Yeah, no, it was a great score. It's like the score you're never going to get again. But my other problem with that car, I loved it dearly, but I was hitting 40,000 miles and I was miling it up quickly. It was my daily. I wintered it, had snow tires on it in the winter and drove it like it was supposed to be driven, I suppose. But I'm dreadfully concerned about owning any of those cars off warranty just because
Right.
any major failures are, measured in the
Yep.
tens of thousands.
Yep.
And so given that I had extended the warranty a bit, but I got an offer I couldn't refuse and it went. So I miss that car every day, but whatever. It's, there are other cars and I'm happy in what I'm in now. So
Yeah. 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 No, I remember when Dan wanted to get your car. So, he I think your car sold again.
I think he told me he was thinking about selling it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, but no, these some of these cars, they're still with us as the original owners. I think there's out of the 25, I think at least maybe 10 or 12 are still with the original owners. We have this sort of this brethren of tributes. It's still, but
Yeah.
you're right. Warranty is expensive. Most of us have bought extended warranty, but they're great cars.
They're
If you
fantastic
take
cars.
care of them, if you don't need to baby them, but if like any car, right? Maintenance, the RS6s are great. I think
Oh,
the biggest challenge is going to be, okay,
I was just gonna say the Achilles heel for me in my use was just no trailer hitch, right? Like we
right.
use with my kids we bike a lot, right? So when we go on vacation, we take the bikes. You need the roof box, which that car had, but like I got into an SQ8 that's got a hitch, and while it's nowhere near as special, it's much more of a sleeper. It's got the hitch, and that works. I wish Audi would
Yeah, yeah.
would add the hitch, I guess.
There is a invisible hitch. You can actually, it comes from below the rear diffuser, but
Yeah.
the capacity is not that high. So yeah, I think you can't tow more than, like, it's a limited capacity. So yeah.
And that pushes a ball out, doesn't it? It's not like for me, I need the open hitch because I'm throwing a bike rack on it.
Right, right, right. It does throw a ball out, but then you can actually do a conversion. But then you've got to do some
That's convoluted.
rewiring, and yeah, it's very
Yeah.
convoluted. I explored it. Some panels have to be taken off and blah blah blah. And I'm like, my goal was to use it as a car that I can trailer my other cars, but
Right.
it just didn't have the capacity. So, I
Yeah.
need more than what it was
What
intended to be.
What's funny though with that car, right, is like the RSQ8 and the SQ8 have, I think, a 7,500 pounds tow rating. So
Mhm.
like we know MLB will do that, and I guess that's kind of the thing where like I kind of wish they would, as they, who knows what they will with this new car, but like it would be nice if they would go ahead and just put like an
Absolutely.
SUV like hitch in the RS6 just because.
Yeah, I don't think you can put a hitch on the new one if you've seen the renders or
Oh, with
the
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 tailpipes,
leaked images. Yeah, the tailpipes are very much like a
911.
Cayenne GT.
Yeah.
So they're kind of like not
For,
closed like a GT3, but like a Cayenne GT, a little
yeah.
space. But I don't think a lot of a hitch is gonna fit there. Otherwise, it's just gonna get
That's
like,
probably accurate.
yeah, but exciting about that. So at the end of the day, we're all car guys, right? We're always finding excuses to buy another car, right? You
Yeah,
need a
dude.
daily for a daily for a daily for a daily, right? So here we go.
Right. It's funny with the RS6 Tribute. That car was whenever I would take it to a Cars and Coffee, like my regular Cars and Coffee where everybody knew me, people didn't look
Right.
twice at it because they'd seen it every week. But like whenever I took it to another Cars and Coffee, everybody would like it just got so much attention. And for just a dad wagon to roll into the one of these, and even at like Monterey, I parked it at I forget which
Quail.
yeah, at RM
I
Sotheby's
think you were
outside
at
Quail.
Quail.
I think it's RM that's there. But yeah, when the lot attendant came up and was asking me about it, and there was a Daytona RS6 sitting a couple cars away, and he hadn't even noticed. It was something about the car, something about the color, something about
Color.
just everything. It has a presence that like, you just don't get out of anything unless it's a supercar. And even the lot attendant was like, dude, there are like people in Huracans and McLarens and stuff stopping and taking pictures of your car. Like, cool. Let's
Yeah.
you
No,
know,
I think it's got great presence, right? So, it comes back to like my wife, she drives the car and it's her setting is like Cadillac setting, right? It's on air ride, it's running auto, it's all the bells and whistles. And then, my setting is like, RS1, the cars, valves are open, sounds much better, at least in my point of view.
yeah,
And it offers something to everyone, right? And you don't get a lot of cars these days that are so versatile, right?
right.
And it just looks darn good on the road.
It
You
really
know
does.
that. So I think the design language of Audi in that gen, I know we used to complain, it's like, oh, what are all these edges and blah blah, but it's aged very well. At least that's my personal opinion.
No, it has, and I think universally, though that era of Audi design gets panned at times, the RS6 is a standout. Is sort of like universally everybody loves it. The only ways I would probably change it are, like if I were the designer, I think they kind of hit it, but obviously making the wheel arches bigger and making the wheels so large. 80 is like a design drawing rolling down the road, and I like taking when I threw the I had Rotiform ABSs on it, and having a simpler design wheel that was just handsome, same design, same dimensions, the factory 22, but not quite as busy as that 5-spoke that they put on it from the factory. And then once they did the performance, it kind of like, or the GT, those kind of had simpler wheels. And I think that's it. You just sort of like bring it down just a hair, like the energy of that design is just dial it down and simplify it just a little bit more. And it kind of kicks it off so much. Like the complex wheels don't do that car favors.
Absolutely right. There's already a lot going on, right? But
Right.
yeah, no, it's a great car, right? So the six and the 3RS, being both Nogaro Blue, I think we've tried to, at least we've tried in our little way to have the ultimate two-car blue solution, right? So, and we can dive more into that at
Yeah,
a
we'll
later
say.
point in
Shall we
terms
save
of.
that for another episode?
We should
Yeah.
definitely, right? That should. There's a lot of nuances, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears in terms of where they are. Version 2 of the RS6 and the 3RS. Happy to share all of that.
Now, you had done, but probably worth touching on. So I think we talked about this earlier. Your GT3 RS it has a lot of things, but it's paint to sample, and it's paint to sample Nogaro Blue. So looking at the cars next to each other, are they exactly the same color, or is Porsche's Nogaro Blue different than Audi's?
Good question. Porsches actually they look very similar.
Do they?
The pearl effect in Audi, the pearl is more.
Okay. So a
So
little more metallic in
it is a
the
little more
Audi.
metallic and it's a little deeper. Also, if you compare, the six and the 3RS, next to each other, the six is huge, and you've got these big panels of, Nogaro Blue,
Right.
uh, and with the decals that we've done on both the cars now to harken it back to the history and the motorsports history of both the cars. Um, they do look very similar, actually, and it's a good pairing, actually. So
No.
maybe we can talk about what we've done to bring those two cars together. But it's such a beautiful color, right? I know maybe it's just a personal opinion, but I just think Nagaro is, I don't know, it has such a, I would say, a special place in our hearts.
Right.
It's
Well,
it's a
that color
beautiful color.
starts, go color nerding a bit. That color starts as RS blue on the RS2.
Hmm.
And then when it goes to the B5 S4, I think the next time we see it is it's
Hmm.
called Nogaro blue, but it's the
Hmm.
same code.
It's the same code, LZ5M.
Um, yeah, that color actually I think they were experimenting it. There's like a 90. It showed up on Bring a Trailer last year, I think. And it was a spray out that was done for like in the Simi Valley Design Studio that Audi had back in the day. The TT Mark One was designed there, the Concept One, which was the Beetle.
Hmm.
Um, the J Mays ordered an S4 in like an orange,
Mm,
which is I think the same orange that was on that RS2 that came into the country.
mm. Yep.
And then they ordered this blue, this kind of spray out in this almost primary blue
Mm,
that would eventually become uh, RS blue on the RS2, and because this was like right before it was a B490 that got sprayed that color. Um,
right, right. I saw that car for sale.
yeah, so I chased that one down. I mean, it was a company car by a designer in Simi Valley, and it was
Mm,
like Jay had ordered his orange C4 and that car at the same time,
mm,
and I got an
mm,
approval for them. And then like so that's kind of where they jump into the blue stuff. And I don't know. I'm curious if like this would be a question for your Porsche guys because I don't really have the contacts at Porsche uh the archives, but like Maritime Blue, if you park them together, they're quite different. But I
yeah.
always thought Maritime Blue, which is like a 92 Carrera Cup color, or sorry, 964, which is I guess 1992
RS.
Carrera Cup color. And it's like also that primary blue, that kind of classic French blue, I guess, of the old national, color
Right.
days. But like these are all variations of that. And I always thought Nogaro was just simply Maritime Blue, but it's not.
Yeah, so I've put the two cars together because I almost bought a 964 RS, and for me it was 964 RS um in maritime blue. It's gotta have the seats that the two gradient
Yeah.
blues. It's gotta
And the
have the
pole
mag
positions.
wheels, um, and all the bells and whistles. And I actually found a car with factory AC.
Oh,
Um,
huh. Was it a
yeah.
touring?
No, it was a club sport,
Okay. Well,
964. So
there was an RS. I just learned this, and I've been an RS nerd. I'd like to think for years, but I was listening to I think Spike's podcast, and Zuckerman was talking about there's a 964 RS touring that they only built like
uh-huh,
30 of,
right.
and I
I
guess
think
what full normal glass, air conditioning, power
right.
steering.
Seam wetting, power steering. Yep. And yeah, those are very rare. I think Zuckerman bought one recently,
He
didn't he?
had one at some point. He mentioned,
Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah. But yeah, most of them are the thinner glass. The noise deadening is mostly gone. Um, but the two things that my wife Tara said were not negotiable was you couldn't get in. There was no rear seats, so you could, and even the pole positions, right? You have to like
right.
squeeze through. Not that the 992 is any easier. Um,
Do you have a fifth
and
spot? I can run you a lead on a really interesting car right now.
oh yeah, all
Yeah,
right.
Ryan Friedman Motor Cars in Long Island, we just featured on Taylor Driver, has a Maritime Carrera 2 92. So it's
Uh-huh.
got a rear seat. Interior is a very light linen gray, but
Okay.
it is full Maritime cups, teardrop mirrors, 92 Euro market car.
Oh wow. Okay.
Ryan Friedman Motor Cars.
There you go. There you go.
I think he wants big money for it though. For not
That's
for
the
a
problem.
964 Carrera 2, I think he's like pushing 200 maybe, 180, something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And
I uh
yeah,
I don't have the big dollars to buy Ryan Friedman cars,
right.
unfortunately. I like the chase actually. For me, it's about finding the car and chasing it, and it's
Yeah.
the hunt, right? Someday I do wanna drive. I do want to experience a 964 RS. And a lot of my friends tell me, "Oh, just drive my car," and I'm like, "No, I don't like driving other people's cars." So,
Same. More, especially if they're kind of irreplaceable cars. I don't mind like
right,
like my buddy's GT3 was very, it's a guards red GT3. Insurance will pay for a new one. Deal with it. You know what I mean? Something happens. But like your car that's so one off or like an older car.
right.
Um, but I will say that is a hero I'm not sure I want to meet. I'd love to meet a touring. Like the
Mm,
more I've driven my car, it has AC, it has full glass, it has sound deadening.
mm.
What I hear about the 964RS is like I don't know that I would. It might be a little bit like more raw than I
Too
want it
raw, yeah,
to be. And
yeah,
my car's got the right suspension dialed in now. Like
right,
it's RS enough that like I suspect it's closer to a touring.
right.
And so I had no idea that touring even exists. When Zuckerman mentioned, it, I was like, I need to learn more about these cars. But with only 30, the likelihood of me ever owning one is slim to none.
right. So I think that again we're geeking out on 964s. I think there's a 964 um, club car that they made for the homologation.
I
They're
like
all
that.
white.
Okay.
They're all white. They're all seam welded. They got them to race in the IMSA racing. I actually saw one at Rennsport, and I was like, "That's just a white 964. It's not even an RS." And then the guy like educated me, and I was like sitting there like a 2 year old, just like
Right.
lapping it up. I was like, "Man, I didn't know all of this." And those cars are big bucks. Those cars are like half a mil, three quarters a mil,
Right.
and they're very beautiful cars.
What is it like the
Um,
NGT? Like the kind of like it's basically Cup, but it's a road car.
it is something like that. Most of them
My
are,
buddy's got he picked up the Maritime Blue and that went on Bring a Trail. He lives down in Richmond, and I've been around that car. That's actually the Maritime Blue car. I parked my RS6 next to and was like, man,
yeah,
it's surprisingly different.
it is. It is. So the little thing is maritime blue is non-metallic.
Right.
So Nogaro is metallic. I think the closest Porsche color you can get to Nogaro would be I don't think there is any. South Sea blue is too is lighter and it's rare. Club Blau is
Club
again,
Blau looks close.
yeah, but it's non-metallic.
Okay.
I think the Club Blau is non-metallic. I'm sure. I don't know if I'm wrong, but yeah, I think Club Blau is non-metallic, but it's a beautiful color, right?
All right.
That was one of the colors we were looking at to paint our 3RS, but that color is reserved for club. So every 10 years they're going to make a club car.
Ah,
So I wanted something, and plus for us it's the lineage of Nogaro, right? All the Nogaro cars we had,
right.
and that's what we always came back to Nogaro, and then it was about an 18-month period to make sure nobody else picked Nogaro Blue. Hence the lovely Jackson Pollock design, which people love to hate or hate to love.
So you did a mock-up that it was a little Jackson Pollock and messing with people. But so that did you wait until the end of like near end of production to like try and wait it out to see if anybody else would order before you order yours? Is that how that worked?
Yeah, so we kept on deferring. So we got an allocation in Q2 of 2023. But it was almost like, hey, here's an allocation. You've got a build date for July 23. So my next question was PTS, Sonderwunsch. Nope, no PTS, no Sonderwunsch. So, we did the dealer a solid. We gave the allocation back with the promise that we would get the allocation. And then we started trying to figure out is under what circumstances can we do that, and without putting out too many secrets, because they like to keep it that way. um, it was finding the right people, and figuring out the timeline and aligning the allocation. So Porsche Clearwater did a lot of the legwork, but we also built the necessary relationships both at PCN and PAG to figure out when the slots would open, when slots within the probability of getting all of that, because we wanted the entire, kit and caboodle, right? We wanted PTS, we wanted CXX Sonderwunsch, we wanted European delivery. So just lining those three up.
And
Um,
CXX, just quick background for people who don't know,
sure.
and Sonderwunsch, which means special wishes in German, is when you want to do something different that's not a little extra. It's a special wish, quite literally, right?
Right.
That's what that is. And so you have to, these are both, whether it's PTS, paint a sample, or Sonderwunsch CXX, which is the option code, you need to be approved for either one of those two different things. Paint a sample you need to be approved for, and CXX you have to be approved for.
Right.
So either one, getting both on an order is amazing, right? But like either one can be like you're just ordering a guards red, nothing wrong with a guards red, whatever, but it's straight up
Right.
options out of the build
Right.
list, and that's it, right?
Right. And then you have some manufacturer options, which you can make some one-off things,
Is
but it's from an
manufacturer
option.
interior stuff?
Manufacturer is primarily interior, but then now there are manufacturer options for the 992.2 line as well.
But it's all
Uh,
in, is manufacturer
no,
all
both
interior?
now. You
I'm
can do
sorry?
both, exterior and interior now.
What kind of
For man-
exterior stuff is manufacturer?
You can do stripes. You can do some
Okay.
some special features. mirror covers. You can do some winglets, especially on the GT cars. You can do a lot on manufacturer right now.
Okay.
So I think it's a good happy medium
Right.
for folks, because the reality is Zonderwunsch is limited to capacity, right? And so they can build only so many cars because the little secret and we can talk more about it on another episode is the process, right, that they go through.
Right.
And I'm happy to invite some of the folks who we participated with, if you'd like, to talk more about it from their
Yeah.
point of view. But
No, that'd be cool.
yeah, it is. And then you take European delivery. There's only 335 slots for European delivery available
Per
for the
year?
whole globe. Mhm.
For
So,
for the whole globe or for the United States?
for the whole globe.
Wow.
So, and then you have 335 split between Zuffenhausen and Leipzig, right? So if you go Leipzig, you can do the track. If you want to Zuffenhausen, so now European
Zuffenhausen is
delivery
factory delivery,
is
Stuttgart.
factory delivery. I'm
Yeah.
Stuttgart. So now it's called the Sonderwunsch experience, which is of an elevated um, scope, elevated experience, and then European delivery. Leipzig still is European delivery. You take delivery and then you can do the track. But Sonderwunsch experience is what we experienced as a pilot with Porsche in terms of the factory tour and the bits and bobs and lunch, and you get to see the factory, you get to see Sonderwunsch, you get to see the, where you go to the belly of the beast.
It's funny, like that those programs, so far as I know, I'm curious if Volvo used to be oddly, Volvo used to do a lot of European
Right,
delivery.
right,
Maybe not oddly, I don't know, but they were so probably also being in Sweden, you could drive the cars down into lower Europe and like
right,
fly out of Paris and just there was a place to leave your car in Paris,
right.
and Audi had a program. It's gone. I don't think BMW is still running their program anymore.
BMW, yeah, no, so
Mercedes, do they still run a
mm,
program?
nope,
So
no
everybody's
European.
dropped it except for Porsche.
Everybody's dropped it except for Porsche. Yep, that's accurate.
Maybe the cottage industry guys, Pagani, those types of people, Ferrari
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
perhaps, but of the
Cottage
Germans,
industry.
of the mass market
The
uh,
mass market, yeah. I think
brands,
Porsche's the only brand. I don't know if Volvo still does it,
they
but
don't. I don't. I'm fairly
yeah,
certain they don't.
yeah. So BMW was big into that. Mercedes, Volvo, um, yeah, Porsche. I don't think Volkswagen ever did it. Audi used to do it. Yeah, you know. But yeah, I think only Porsche's doing it. It takes a village, to be honest with you. It's not that easy. It's like
No,
lining up all the logistics, getting the car ready, getting it make sure that delivery happens. All the logistics with regards to boarding and room and flights and use. It takes a lot, right? Especially from the customer as well as Porsche, right? So,
right.
kudos goes to them to still maintain that program and double down and weave it into the overall experience. And honestly, for us, there's no substitute, right? Porsche.
Well, the other side of it is like it's a shame those programs went away, not just because it's cool to drive your car on the Autobahn where it was, designed to be driven, but on top of that, the Germans have this, you said sense of occasion earlier. The Germans have this sense of occasion for taking delivery of a new vehicle. If you hang out at the Audi Forum in Ingolstadt or Neckarsulm for that matter, they have a delivery center where they've got people coming through all day long. These are Germans who special ordered their cars. They have a dealer they've worked with and wherever, figure out the Temperlane or, wherever else in Germany, Frankfurt. But they've come now to the factory to take delivery of their car. And it's for them, I guess it's, you're not staying overnight. They've ridden the train down or whatever. And they've had lunch at the move and pick or perhaps the restaurant. And then, they go into the delivery center, take delivery of the car and drive home. And so it's
Right.
perhaps a lot less logistically. But when you get to like them or like Volkswagen with Autostadt with like the cylinder, like elevator, whatever the hell that thing is that delivers cars at Autostadt, or of course Porsche with a museum and their whole facility, like Mercedes or the manufacturer thing, like they just have such amazing infrastructure, BMW belts. That like not taking or taking delivery of your car there is so much more special than to even going to. I know Porsche in the U.S. has like you know
Experience centers.
Experience Center in Atlanta and L.A. They only have two in the U.S., right?
Right now, only in the US, two, then they've started one in Canada and now
Okay,
one in Mexico.
and
And
really
they
special
also,
too. I'm not here to,
Mhm.
to you know to talk down on those programs. I think
Right.
they're also amazing. that they do that. But man, there is no substitute for, pardon the pun, right? But there is no substitute for European delivery. It's so great that they
Yeah.
still do that.
Yeah, no, I think what Porsche's also done is they've cracked the code on the delivery experience with the experience centers, right? So if you go to Atlanta, right? Um, so it's not just a one-time experience, right? So and if you'd like, we can talk more about it in terms of what our journey was, in terms of going there, designing the car, experiencing it, meeting the right people, experiencing what owning a Porsche is, um, getting on the track, having lunch there. But then also they do it not just for your delivery experience, but if you'd like, a couple of my friends and I, we've flown to Atlanta. And our plan is to go there and experience the 3RSs. Go learn that, and they have programs, right? So I think they've really built on that, which is it's all about delighting the customer.
Right.
I think of this, right? Which other brand has that? Maybe BMW has that, right? A little bit in the
Different ways.
US.
Like when they have, unfortunately, Audi doesn't have one in the United States right now, but they do in Europe still. A little bit different than Experience Center. Like you'll have like doesn't BMW still have a program at like,
Hmm.
I want to say, what's the track in Alabama? Um,
Scott Barber,
yeah, is it
Skip
Barber
Barber.
Motorsports Park
See,
maybe?
I think it's yeah,
But I mean, these brands will do. Audi had one at Circuit of the Americas. Prior to that, it was at Sears Point or at Infineon. I guess it is
hmm,
nowadays. So like, they will invest in it. Now those programs have kind of fallen a little bit too, but some still have them. But
right,
the difference is Porsche with the experience centers. The track itself is somewhat small compared to say Circuit of the Americas, but it's very technical. It's for a very specific driving experience. It's not for,
right,
logging lap times on an F1 track. It's for learning the car very specifically.
right,
And it's usually near, I mean, the Atlanta is right around the corner from the Atlanta airport.
right,
Yeah, LA is obviously in Los Angeles and right near the highway. I don't think it's that close to LAX. But you're coming in and you're getting the on brand experience in the whole place, not just an Audi building in a corner at Infineon
right,
or right like so. It's I guess the track was bigger than Infineon or Circuit, but at the same time, that what Porsche does is a little bit more about the experience of learning the brand in the car,
right.
not just like a track school or a day at the track.
Yep, absolutely. And then that's the lifestyle we lead, right? Which is the Porsche Motorsports lifestyle, right? So, it's allowed us to experience these cars where they thrive, which is on the track, right? Be it the 997.2 that we drove in Laguna for the first time, or the 993 that we enjoyed there, or, year the 992, right? Um, these things are built for the track, and they do so well on the track. They thrive there, right? So for us, that's we're spoiled, right? So I always say, I'm very lucky. Married to the most wonderful person, have the most wonderful kids, and I get to drive all my dream cars every day. Walk into my garage and I'm like, what am I going to drive today? You know,
Yeah. Well, and that you're tracking it regularly, I think is also that was kind of a very different experience. But for a period, I had an R8 4.2.
uh,
And when I would drive, I was dailying it. And when I was driving around daily, it just seemed like I was somehow wasting the car. And when I drove my
yeah,
buddies,
wasted miles,
the same thing hit me again when I was driving my buddy's 992 GT3, right? Which is like, this is an amazing car, but the roads I live on, especially here in the Northeast, as I'm sure with you in Florida, there's so much traffic. The roads are not really set up for going out and
right,
experiencing this car as it is designed to be experienced, and you really need a track for it. Where like the 964, I can go hit a back road within 300 yards of my house and have some fun in it.
right,
I would be the 992 would be completely bored with me on that road because there are driveways or
right,
whatever else.
right.
And I think that's the amazing thing that you're taking to the track regularly, as it is to be designed to be driven, right?
No, no, absolutely, right. So no, definitely, and we can deep dive on any particular brand or experience, or what we did with it too. And it's been great collaborating with you over the years, on various topics. So excited about your tailored driver, your what you're trying to do with tailored driver, and then if big fans of that and your
Thank you.
Forings AI. So
Thank you.
um, I don't know. It's been what, 20 years we know each other? 15 years, I think.
I'm gonna go. When did we meet?
We met when I had the
RS
RS4 Avant build. Remember?
was it before that even? The
Yeah.
RS. I thought you had, or maybe it was free. So I think it was DC Audi Club Nationals is
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
guess,
Yeah. When we
which is
met
2019. So no,
19? No, no, no. No, 2019. No, it was 2013.
DC was. Oh, dude,
DC was
we haven't aged that
2013.
fast.
Yeah, I think so. It can't be
What?
19.
So
It can't be.
I sold Vortex in 15. 16 started working with Audi Club. So
Mm,
it probably would
maybe,
have been 16, but I
maybe. Yeah,
nationals
doesn't
that
matter.
year.
Yeah, it just seems longer that
Yeah, dude.
we've known each other. Yeah,
Well,
but
time flies. Kids
time
say.
does fly. But we can talk more about these cars
Yeah,
as till the sun goes down, right? So,
right.
but yeah.
What didn't you have? So at nationals in DC, did you have an RS5?
No, at Nationals, I had the RS4
You
Avant
had the
build.
RS4. Your buddy had an
Had a,
RS5,
the RS5, the guards red, or
right?
whatever the red is in Audi
Yeah,
speak. And then we started talking to Greg about the RS6
right.
at DC. So yeah, probably it was 19. Yeah, it was 19. Wow, it's 19. It's 25. Only 6 years ago.
Kids make time fly by.
Kids do make time fly by.
It's
Yep. So
in a good
yeah,
way, wonderful way.
yeah,
But
yeah, 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 yeah.
yeah,
No, once you hit the RS bug, you can't go back. That's the problem. Either RS Audis or RS Porsches, or such as life.
yeah. All right, I'll throw a curveball at you on that one though. And maybe it's because I don't know, maybe I'm more impressionable. I don't know, but I took the RS6 on vacation. We do a vacation to Maine every summer,
Hmm.
and I was so jazzed to take that car to Maine because like to me like that is the I get up there in Maine and it's kind of like that like these little towns in southern Maine like
Right,
Kennebunkport, which remember like President Bush and his family are from up
right,
there.
right, right,
You get some
right,
money up in that area. So like it's always like this interesting show of like who's got what for their vehicle, right? Whether it's like the
right,
vacationers with the roof boxes or whether it's like the dude who's got the summer house up there and is rolling around in his, XK 120 or whatever.
right, 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 right,
Um,
right.
and so I took the RS threw the box on, had the kids rolling up there in the RS6. We always break it up on the way up, and I ended up on Martha's Vineyard for a couple days, and
Uh-huh.
a friend of mine got me in like a room at like a his family has had a membership to like this it's like a private club that's like it was a very affordable room, but these people who live there like they're old money people, you know what I mean?
Hmm. Hmm.
And I remember pulling in, and that's the one time in that car I felt out of place. Like anywhere else, cars and coffee, people are like, "Oh my gosh, tell me more about your car." And there I pulled in, and I'm like parked between like black Range Rovers. Everything was very like money,
Hmm.
but conservative. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
super, super
Hmm.
conservative, super low key, super subdued. And here I
Hmm.
am in this blue car that's like, "Look at me, look at me, look at me," and I felt like kind of a moron there. So like I think that's where I'm happy to have my SQ8 right now because it's nearly
Right,
as
right,
fast
right,
and it's like
right.
it's a subtle if I roll to that place, not that I ever do,
Uh-huh.
like it'll blend right in.
Uh-huh.
So you got the Land Rover for the undercover car?
I got the Land Rover for the undercover car. And to your point, Ashley, it is a little embarrassing when you go to places because people start tagging you everywhere. So I tell my wife, the good news is that either you go or I go with these cars.
Yeah.
Uh, People know where we are, so we can't cheat on each other. So,
Yeah.
right.
Well, that's
So,
even dude, I'm walking at my garbage out to the end of the driveway the one Saturday like trash day. And
uh,
a Q7 stops, right?
uh,
And I had done like it probably like as one does, I suppose, already done with that car. I got a vanity plate, right, which said unlike rhombus, it said Mombus, but with an H, right? So
mhm,
just playing on the rhyming and so I that only comes in the story because like, this woman stops at Q7 and she's like I want to introduce myself. My husband is going to be over the moon that I met you, and I was like, huh? Like, right? What the hell? And I guess they live in our neighborhood, and he's an
mm,
Audi nerd, and
mm,
he would see like there's the Mombus, there's the Mombus. He was like they would be in like you know, a city an hour away, and I happened to be down there and spotted me. Like, so it's high visibility for that reason, right?
Mhm.
And he'd be like, "There it is, there it is," and so he's like, he's been wanting to stop and meet you. And so when I saw you taking your trash out, I had to introduce myself, and I was like, "That's cool," but like, they want to meet the owner of the car. They don't really give a shit who I am.
Right,
Right.
right, right.
Right, but very nice people, and but that's the kind of high visibility of like the magic of that car, where I can imagine it in your GT3 RS. That car has leaves a wake of people and attention, right? Where you don't expect it from a station wagon, but somehow with those cars, the tributes especially, you do.
Yeah. So, yeah, my wife, we're very understated people, and we've landed up with the loudest ever cars, both figuratively and
Right.
literally, right? Um, and so it is embarrassing at times, and my kids, I see them, preteens, and rolling their eyes like, why? So for us, I think that the Defenders are great. But again, George, you only live once, right? So,
Yeah.
if you're gonna
No,
do
yeah.
it, do it properly. So, and if it's blue, so be it. If it's Nogaro Blue, even better. The crazy part is every possible Nogaro Blue car that's available for sale or comes up, or any even seats with blue inserts, like I get pings like,
People
hey
send
bro,
you.
yeah. So, yeah, and maybe on another chat we can talk about all the cool blue Nogaro Blue cars we've seen recently for sale, including the RS6 that recently
There's
transacted.
a there's a performance on I think Facebook Marketplace right now too.
There's there's the Cayenne GT,
No, a couple
GTS.
Cayennes.
That's
I
yeah.
I think now that you've done it and a couple, I mean, I've seen it in Porsche's. Porsche has a really amazing paint to sample configurator online,
Mhm, mhm.
and Nagaro's in there, right? So
Yeah,
you can choose whatever. And so I've seen Nagi on
on a few
whatever.
cars.
Yeah, a
Yeah,
fair
there's
amount of Cayennes.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I still thank John, right, McMillan, for doing the paint to sample, plus program with his 991 C2 that he took. Actually, it's a funny story. I don't know if you know about this, but he
Yeah,
took his B5 S4's um, fuel flap and gave it to Porsche and said, I need this color. That time he got his 991 C2 painted Nogaro Blue. That's how Nogaro Blue started in
really?
Porsche.
They
Yeah.
couldn't just call up their buddies down the road in Ingolstadt and be like, "Yo, give us the paint code." And
No,
I mean,
that's
there
how
is
it
something about
started.
the pearl though. Like the pearl, and if you're accurate on that on your description, right? It sounds like the pearl still is a little bit different the way
It
Porsche
is.
does
It
it.
is. Yeah. So I'll take some pictures of comparing the two
Yeah.
cars in the same place, in the same spot, um, in the sun, and see. But yeah, it is very interesting. But that's how Nogaro was fed into the paint samples for Porsche. And so when we chose Nagaro, I let John know, and I thanked him for doing what he did
That's cool.
to open up the doors for us peasants, through the program. But Nagaro, but in Renbao is still a five bucket color. You don't see Nagaro a lot.
Five bucket
Um,
being rare, the rarity rating
yeah,
on
on
Porsche Club's
Renbao.
Rainbow
Yeah.
Color Wiki.
Exactly.
That's I know what you're talking about,
Yeah,
but you
yeah,
got to
yeah.
be pretty
Sorry.
nerdy
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
to know
yeah,
that. A wonderful service that Porsche Club does too. It's member contributed to, and it's a
yeah,
Wikipedia type of search tool that catalogs every color that probably
yeah.
nearly every color and
Nearly
rates
every
it,
color.
color codes, etc.
Yeah,
Like
and then
amazing tool.
pictures. Yeah, the sample pictures, because you see things on the configurator. And sorry, I just assumed everybody was a car nerd like me. So
Yeah, I'm always like explaining like if it's in case somebody's listening, we're not like talking a different language, right? Like
right,
of
right, right, right. But it is a great service because configurators, it's a great tool, but it shows you in a digital fashion. But in this case, um, looking at Rainbow, and you can look up the color, the shade. It'll have the actual cars, people taking pictures and uploading, right? So that's it's all about the community, right? And that's the best part. So if you look at Nogaro Blue, there is actually a 992 GT3 Touring that was built There's a couple of other cars that are have Nogaro Blue, that have been painted Nogaro Blue. Actually, John's car's on there, as well. It's on rent list. But there's this. It hasn't been exercised, and we're thankful for that because it makes our car even rarer, right? So,
Right.
but now next thing you know, now you've got a whole slew of Noggies landing up in the next few months, right?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, the thing is, I think that like there are two types of PTS cars, I think. They're the ones that people are ordering because they want, you tell me on this one. I'm just assuming because I
Sure.
haven't ordered one. But either the people like you have very specific wants, or like John, you said, who ordered the first one. Or there are dealers who kind of like get a PTS allotment and maybe are bringing something in just to be different,
Right.
right?
Right.
And I think that's kind of like where, and I think especially why we're seeing it on Cayennes is that like that car's history. If people are being nerdy, that car's history or that color's history is the RS2. So Porsche in the '90s didn't have an SUV. If you wanted a five-door family color that was built by Porsche, you were buying the Audi RS2.
Right.
And
Right.
I do know, like, it was very distinctive to me. What's the autobahn that's between like Munich and Stuttgart? The last time I was over there, like I can't remember. It's the A9 that goes up to Ingolstadt, but whatever
I think
goes
it's
west.
A55. I think I'm
Is
not
it?
sure. I think it's A55, which doesn't have a speed limit.
Yeah, it's unlimited speed limit, and it's it's a bit. You get some big dogs between like Stuttgart. You got Mercedes and Porsche, and Munich you have BMW, and you get a lot of big dogs making that run between the two cities. And I was in a Q4 press cars. So like nothing, just staying out of the left lane and trying to maintain a certain pace without running the batteries dry in that short
Hmm.
run. But like an RS or sorry a what would it be, a GTS Taycan of like wagon, right? So Sport Turismo came, like he must have just dropped out of warp like next to me for a moment, just to like, I don't know if he was checking his phone or something, changing the playlist, but then like got back in the left lane and was gone. But that was so distinctive to me because it was not the Cross Turismo with the body cladding. It was like the lowered one, and
Right.
it looked like it was Nagi. It could have been Maritime, I guess.
Hmm.
It was such a quick experience that I saw him, but like the RS2 play on those cars is pretty obvious, and
Yep.
so
Yep. Yep.
I
Yep.
can see why I'm seeing a lot of Cayennes in that color.
Yeah.
Haven't seen a
Yeah.
lot
Yeah.
of the haven't seen, honestly, not a lot of wagons in Panamera or Taycan in that color.
Yeah. So next time we talk, remind me of I have an amazing story of we talked about the Porsche experience, right?
Yeah.
And what the team at PAG did for Tara and I when we were in Zuffenhausen at the factory. Uh, as they came to know, they did the due diligence and found out that we owned a Nagi RS2 and that we built this Nagi 3RS. They actually just were just very gracious, and so I'll tell you about that story the next time we chat.
I
It's something that I haven't shared with anybody, but I know you'd enjoy it. So,
Thank
but
you.
I know.
I will say, for what we've been teasing around a lot in this conversation, but to kind of clue in those who might be consuming this podcast later is that we've talked about doing several episodes because you've got a couple cars that kind of definitely qualify for tailored driver coverage. Some of them also for my Audi side. I kind of split this podcast either way, but most importantly on ordering that GT3 RS. Whether it's the order process or taking delivery, your wife was such an instrumental part of it. We want to make sure to have Tara on as well
Absolutely,
when we
absolutely.
tell that story. So we're not trying to be coy and like, oh, wait for the next episode and whatever, but definitely want to. If we don't want to cover it without having Tara on the call too.
Absolutely. And then if needed, I can also invite the other folks who were
Yeah,
involved
let's
in
do
the
that.
process, like, Anthony at Carrera Design or Larry at Porsche Clearwater. I can reach out to, if see if some of the folks at PCNA and PAG as Sonowunch would be open to that. But it'll be great.
Would love
I
that.
haven't seen anybody talk about the whole process because it's this sort of this hush hush, or if you know, you know.
All right.
Um, you know, uh that could be another hook for you if you know. Um,
Well,
but
yeah, that's a reach because that side is mainly Audi, but yeah,
yeah,
sure. It's Nogaro Blue, so it's Audi enough, right?
it's howdy enough, exactly. So, but yeah, and then we can talk about how we brought, Audi into our Porsche and Porsche into our Audi. And I'm
For
sure
sure.
people will want to know what we did with our RS6 to even make it more Porsche-like. So happy to.
Yes. Yeah, I want to touch on that, but let's I we're putting a lot of things in a 5 pound
Yeah,
bag,
yeah,
so
yeah,
like
yeah,
so
yeah,
maybe
yeah.
we
So
do
let's
that one
split
in a
it.
separate episode because I
Yep,
I would
yep.
love to center around that RS6 and what you've done to it. A lot of what you've
Absolutely.
done were like stuff I was like photoshopping and dreaming about, and the fact you've done it, I really want to dig into that
No,
because you've done it
absolutely,
and
absolutely.
done it in a way that's the ultimate flex because it ties it into that GT3 RS too.
No, I appreciate that. But thank you again for having me. And as always, it was a great chat.
Yeah, man.
Uh, and yeah, and let's schedule some time. We can dive deep into each of the processes, like you said. Ordering, the PTS process, Sonderwunsch process, the design, as well as delivery, and just the amazing experience we've had to date. We've barely scratched the surface with the 3RS. We've had it for six months and driven her already 3,400 miles.
Have you really? God,
Yeah,
man, that's awesome.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But good stuff.
Yeah. All right, man. Well,
All right.
we'll get that one scheduled. I'll drop you a text.
Thanks, George. All
Take
right.
care. Enjoy the
Cheers. Bye bye.
beach.
All right. Bye bye.
Bye.
The Four Rings, If You Know You Know podcast is part of the Weekly Driver podcast series. For more news and features about Audi, visit the Four Rings, If You Know You Know website at oooolYKYK.com. That's 4OOOLYKYK.com. There you can also subscribe to the Four Rings, If You Know You Know Substack newsletter that will keep the latest Audi news and features coming straight to your inbox. Four Rings, If You Know You Know, is an independent production and not affiliated with the Audi brand. If you know, you know.
Nice shelving.
Nice what?
Shelving.
Shelving. That's my virtual background for
That was
work.
virtual.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Let me take
Put some
out that
books on
because
these shelves.
they're all Audi, Porsche,
You gotta
Volkswagen.
Photoshop some stuff on there, man. Like highbrow
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
War and
yeah,
Peace.
yeah, yeah. Actually, I should have put the background of actually, you know what? I can maybe. Hold on. Let me do this. Video, choose video filter, none. See, that's what my background actually looks. But let me show you something.
Got the poster for the car.
For the fall, but here's a choice for one background. I'll use it for the next one. It's
Alright.
actually we storyboarded the whole process.
Wow.
Yeah,
Did
yeah,
you
yeah.
you almost make it white or is that just starting point of body and white?
Yeah, so this was like we were looking at doing Promo Flare, this
Yeah.
one, versus Nogaro. These were all the designs, and you have access to the drive, right? It's all
Yeah.
actually these boards are in there. Then we were looking at the details, how we could incorporate Sally Pepita and the various things, and then got their permission to do delivery.
Yeah.
Then I wanted to incorporate the Pegasus, so they shot down the idea of the half Pegasus. So actually, it's in one of the designs. So, but yeah, but I'll just put a blur. How about that? Okay,
Yeah,
blur
whatever
my
works for
back.
you, dude. If you want the
No,
shelf,
no, no.
I don't care.
Yeah, 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 yeah. But I wanted to ask you. So, what did you want to focus on today? Or we could just shoot the shit and just talk.